What's up guys, Tony here with Salt Strong, and in this video I want to address a question that a member had sent in to us, and it was about jig heads and the barbs being too big and really just too aggressive in tearing up your soft plastic lures. After you either catch one fish or after a bunch of casts, it'll start sliding down those barbs and it'll start destroying the head of the lure. So one thing to consider is make sure you're using the right jig head for the right lure. Now, as you can see, these are two different size lures here. This is our 5-inch Slam Shady colored bomber, which is a paddle tail, and this is our 2.0, which is a 3.5-inch paddle tail. Notice the heads on these lures. They're a little bit different sizes. The head on this lure is more pointed, and it's going to have a smaller area for a jig head to go into. So if we size this jig head up to this lure, you're going to notice those barbs are almost going to be sticking out of the lure when you push that lure up onto the jig head, as opposed to a lure that has more meat on it. It's going to hold better on a jig head that has bigger barbs. So if you find you're coming across that problem a lot, you just only happen to have larger jig heads with large barbs on there, it's very simple to break those barbs off and your lure will still hold on there. So what I like to do is either use a pair of pliers or an old pair of scissors and break or cut that bottom barb off. So you'll just grab it with some pliers like so and pull it off. You can pinch it, that'll help pull it off as well. Lead is very soft, and what you can also do is sort of squeeze it closer to the body or closer to the shank of the hook. As you can see there, that barb is now pushed up and not too aggressive, and if you wanted to, you can make the other one smaller, again just by simply pinching off the end of the barb. So as you can see there, it's nice and small, and I'll go ahead and show how it rigs up here on our bomber paddle tail. We'll just slide that up onto the jig head, make sure it's centered and straight, come out through the body, and then just push it up onto the jig head like so. So as you can see there, it's on there. It's not going anywhere. You don't need much to hold these lures on. And if you really need it to, you can also use a small dab of super glue on the jig head. What you do before you put the lure on, slide it up to the hook. Don't slide it all the way up. Just put a dab of super glue close to the head of the jig head. And then you would just slide that lure up and hold it there for a few seconds. Make sure it's on there nice and secure. And then once that super glue dries, your lure will now be a lot more secure to that jig head, especially if you cut some of the barbs down. So on this jig head, I'm going to rig it up on this 2.0 paddle tail, which is 3.5 inches. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break those barbs down as much as possible to the point where they're almost gone. See, that one broke off there. This one going to be a little bit more difficult. Just try to pinch it as close to the body as possible. So there you can see the barbs are off. There's still a little bit left on there, but I'm going to do the super glue trick on this one. I'm going to put a little dab of super glue on there when I get the lure close enough. So again, make sure that hook point goes through the center of the nose, push it all the way up, out through the top of the body. I'm going to start getting that lure pushed up onto the head. Before I completely finish, I'm going to put a dab of super glue close to the head there. Make sure you don't get it on your fingers. And we're just going to push that lure all the way up. Now we're going to hold it there for a few seconds, let it dry. Doesn't take too long. As you know, if you ever got super glue on your fingers, it will dry pretty quickly. And that should be good. And as you can see, that lure is not going anywhere. So if you have to completely break the barbs off, what you could do is just use a little dab of super glue to keep that lure in place. And it won't really damage your lure. So I'll go ahead and pull it off here. Just pull it close to the head, pull it down and off, and there you go. The lure is not really damaged, and you can use it again if you needed to. Now, if you happen to need any tackle, or if you're interested in any of these lures that you've seen in this video, we do sell them on our shop page at fishstrong.com. You can pick them up there, and if you are one of our insider members, be sure to take advantage of those exclusive discounts you get on all tackle and gear on the shop page. So again, check that out at fishstrong.com. So that will wrap up this video. If you have any questions or comments or any additional tips you would like to share when it comes to your lures getting torn up by the barbs of jig heads, definitely let us know in the comments down below.